Listen. Short story long.
Welcome.
It could take your whole life.
Preach.
Develop clarity.
Second, patience.
If it scared you, you should probably do it.
Whatever you think you don't have, you have something else in its place.
Listen. Short story long.
Go, Woody, go.
Preach.
Listen.
Welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're here with a very, very special guest. I'm really excited, man. I'm trying to think of how to explain this. I think that I got exposed to your type of work and then specifically your work, probably not that long ago, 4 or 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I think that opening that door for me about, mindset practice and even thinking about that stuff really was like a huge game changer for me. I wasn't taught it growing up. It was never addressed. And I think it just sent me down a path of a lot of learning and a lot of really good information, not only yours, but then it just took me into this whole other world. So I'm very thankful and very excited to have you on today.
Chris, or is it drama? Which one?
Whichever one feels more comfortable,
both
man.
of them feel great. It's a great combination. Chris, drama.
Yeah.
All right. No, it's an honor to be here. Thank you. We don't do many podcasts.
Yeah.
So for you to reach out to us, we're honored. Thank you so much.
I'm honored. Like I told you, like no diss to any of the other people out here spreading their message, but a lot of times podcasts are really popular and people lately have been going and doing a bunch of them. And so for me, it's hard to get something original and get something that really hits because of that. With you, it's like this open book, and this is my dream come true.
Well,
Not only what your knowledge base and the fact that you don't share it a lot on this type of platform, I just hit the lottery.
Well, what happens is people are constantly pumping out information. They're always pumping out information. And the clients I work with, and I believe in mastery. Mm-hmm. All right. So when you have so much information out there, people jump from one thing to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other. You got to master something first. Yep. And then after you've mastered that, you understand it, then you go on to the next thing. I hear people all the time that says, listen, I read 30, or I read or listened to 30 books this month.
Yeah.
Well, did you actually master anything that you read in those books?
Yeah.
Are you just counting, you just want to impress people with a number? I would rather have you read 2 books, understand the concept, master the concepts, can you apply to it, then move on to something else.
Yep, absolutely. Do you feel like that's more common in like this social media day and age, or is that something that's always existed?
No, I think it's more common now because information is so readily available. Yeah. Believe it or not, I think I'm a couple of months older than you are.
Yeah,
just
I might have you beat.
So, now everything it's available in your phone. You just Google something, you bing it, it's right there. Yep. In my day, you actually had to go get a book. We didn't even have audiobooks back then. You had to go get the book, you had to physically read it, you had to understand it, you had to study it. Yep. And you only had a certain amount of time because you had to return the book back to the library. Yep. So somebody else can check it out. Now you start to understand something, and then somebody else tells you, you need to listen to this, or you forget about what you were listening there, and then you go to something else. It's just what you said is the length of this podcast. In order to get the most out of this podcast, the other podcasts that you've done, is you got to finish the whole podcast. And if you do that in the information you're getting, it sets a tone for basically everything you do in life. Yeah. You're going to end up bailing before you finish. Like I always say, anybody can start something. You know how many people say, man, I'm going to start a podcast. Yeah. All right. How much work have you put in to get to these many listeners, to put this finished product out? And you're constantly evolving, because from every podcast you do, you learn. When you finish it, you learn something else. Yeah. But if you don't finish it, you never learn all the way through. Yep. That's why I said, if you're going to start it, finish it. If you're going to listen to something, you can only listen to 30 minutes. Remember where you at. Finish what you started. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I just feel like even like on social, I don't mean to blame social media so much, but I do think it is a lot to blame. Like you also see all of these different like supposed successful people. And I think it's so distracting for like a young person trying to figure out what they want to do, because you see, oh, this guy made millions of dollars on his online store. I'm going to go start an online store. And then this guy, no, he was selling t-shirts. I'm going to go sell t-shirts. And no, this guy's a rapper and he's only been rapping for 6 months. I'm going to go do that. And it's like, it just leads to this, like, you can just be so scattered for a decade, and then you come out on the other side and you're like, oh shit, like I work at Starbucks and none of that worked out.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Focus in on one thing. I always tell people, focus in on one thing and do it better than anybody else. Make yourself so invaluable that they will find you. There's individuals that work for major corporations that only do 10% of the work.
Yep.
But that 10% they do is so invaluable that the company needs them.
Yep.
They're a specialist.
Yep.
But people are trying to do they're looking for the quick fix. They're looking this generation now, because everything is so readily available, they think success should be that quick.
Yep.
It should pop up like that, you know. And it doesn't work like that. It's what you don't see behind the background. You know, an example today was flight was 3.5 hours delayed.
Yeah.
All right. You figured it out.
Yeah.
You figured it out.
Yeah.
All right. People have such a hard time figuring things out because they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
They're so confused.
Yeah. It's rough. I notice it a lot now. Okay. So I'm going to ask you the really stupid question. What would you call what you do?
You know, mindset isn't the word I like to use. You know, for a lot of individuals that I deal with, it could simply be, I'm retrieving something that they lost. You know, I deal with a lot of individuals that just feel like they lost their identity, or they've lost that desire to keep going. They don't know who they are. So we sit down with those people and like we figure it out and say, hey, listen, let's figure what's going on. What's going on in in your personal life? What's going on in your what's going on in your business circle? What's going on in your athletic endeavors that's not allowing you to perform at the level you should be performing at? It's just like a baseball player. If a baseball player has been hitting a baseball since he's been 4 years old, all of a sudden when they get to the major leagues, you don't forget all of a sudden how to hit a baseball.
Yeah.
All right.
But it seems like some guys do.
Exactly. Now we come in and we figure out what happened to get this person to the point. Is it the big contract?
Yeah.
All right. Is it some off the field issues? You know, is it too much partying? Is it drugs? Is it alcohol? What is it?
Yeah.
What is it? Is it the people that you're hanging around? You know, because it's funny, as you become more successful or you're trying to become more successful, everybody says yes, 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 when actually you should be saying no, no, no.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't teach you that.
They don't teach you. They don't teach you. You know, yes has 3 letters, no has 2 letters. Anything that has 2 letters should be easier to say than 3 letters.
You would think so.
you would think so. Okay, but it's the same thing. It's just like people have such a hard time letting go. It's so easy to hold on to things.
Yeah.
You know, and you lose yourself when you continue to hold on to things, because now you're no longer who you're supposed to be. You have so many things that you're holding on that don't belong to you, that actually belong to everybody else around you. You forget your own identity.
Yeah.
And if you just learn to say no to people, and no does not need an explanation. People always, when they say no, they feel like they have to explain to somebody why they said no.
Yeah.
Or somebody will ask them and say, you know, well, what do you mean no? No is no. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Okay, and then my other question is it mostly athletes, or now has it become business people, or like who are the types of people calling you now?
Listen, we still deal with tons of athletes. We deal with business individuals, strong corporations, you know, entrepreneurs that are getting started, who already have successful business, who are looking to change directions, or just feel like that fire is no longer where it should be.
Yeah.
And one of the issues is we teach individuals, you can't wait on somebody else to light your fire.
Yeah.
you have to figure out a way to keep it lit yourself. And that's what a lot of individuals don't know how to do, because they're looking for somebody else to motivate them. That's why they're looking at all these different posts on Instagram and Facebook and listening to this motivational talker and this person and so forth. It all comes back down to you. You got to hold yourself accountable. Your desire to have something and the accountability to yourself has to be greater than anybody else's accountability out there.
Yeah.
If somebody else wants it more than you do, then it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen. Somebody's got to constantly be pushing you and so forth. I can understand they give you a little nudge and so, but the greatest individuals I've met and I've worked with, they hold themselves more accountable than any other individual.
Yeah. So I want to ask you too, like, because what you do is, at least to me, it seems really unique. In your world, maybe you're around people like you, kind of. In my world, it's like, man, how do you even become this? I mean, I think you talk about it in the book. One of your most famous clients was Michael Jordan.
Yes.
In the middle of Michael Jordan being Michael Jordan. You saw all that behind the scenes, what was really going on, how that version of Michael Jordan became that version of Michael Jordan. But my question is, how do you even get to that role? So to start, where'd you grow up? What were you doing as a kid? Were you an athlete?
Yeah, I grew up in Chicago. I grew up in Chicago, Illinois. I played college. I played college basketball over there.
Yeah.
Like every other kid, I'm gonna go pro. I blew out my knee. Even before I blew out my knee, I wasn't going pro. So it didn't. I'm not gonna give you all this. Oh, if I didn't hurt myself, I'd have had my jersey retired. No, it's not. No. But when I got hurt, it allowed me to focus on other things. It was like, okay, yeah, you know what? You're never going to make any money playing basketball. You should have figured this out a while back. Yeah. But when the injury went down, I really knew I wasn't going to make any money. Yeah. But I still wanted to be involved in sports somehow. So I said, okay, how can I still be involved with professional athletes and not be a player? Well, what if I deal with their physical and mental conditioning? I mean, it's kind of similar to what you started out. You was like, hey, I wanted to be a professional skateboarder. Yep. All right. And it didn't work out for you, but you took that desire, you took that energy, you took that passion, put action behind it, came up with a Young and Reckless.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Which really kept you in the skateboarding industry.
Yep.
Allowed you to do, hey, listen, may not no longer be able to get on the board, but I'm still prevalent in this business. I'm actually more prevalent now and have more longevity over the years than actually if I was doing a thing.
For sure.
So, one of the things we talked about is you don't recognize failure. There's more than one way to get things done.
Yeah. Can I ask you quickly too? Because I think I see a lot of people, or I've known some, that have this dream that they hold on to so tightly at a young age. And when something does go wrong, it's like they lose their whole identity.
Yeah.
When you were young and that injury happened, did you naturally just kind of adjust? Like you've naturally had this kind of strong, sound mind. Was there a time when you felt lost or anything like that? Or did you kind of just keep going with the...
everyone that tells you, oh, I've never had a weak moment, I've never been lost, that's bullshit.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. It's funny how you hear, these social media gurus and these people, they've never had a bad day in their life.
Never lost.
The house is beautiful, the car's always clean, the kids are always doing great. There's nothing that ever goes wrong.
Yeah.
No. They're going through the same shit that everybody else is going through.
Yep.
They're actually maybe going through it even more. They just don't know how to deal with it. So that's why they have to put on this happy face, this front all the time. Yeah. All right. Listen. When something happens to you, and it's gonna happen to every individual. It's happened to every individual sitting in this room. Yeah. It's going to happen to every individual that's listening to this podcast. It may have already happened to some of them. Something happens to you in your life. It could be at an early age. It could be your teenage. It could be later on. How you handle that situation pretty much determines how you're going to handle everything else.
Yeah.
You can use it and as a crutch for the rest of your 30 years, as an excuse, if this didn't happen, if I had this, that, and people have such a sympathetic ear for, oh, it's okay, yeah, I understand. And those are the same people that are in that group.
Yep. They love it. They love to hear another one that luck
yes.
just happened to.
Yeah, right. It's just like, this, everything that happened, you knew somebody. That's why you got on this, you were able to get on this show.
Yeah.
You were able, okay. Everybody knows somebody.
Yeah.
It's what you do when you meet that person and the advice they take you and how far you can take it that determines where things are going to go. And you have other individuals that when something happens to them, they get up. And I always have a saying that they always say people are going to get knocked down. I agree with that. But every time you get knocked down and you stand up, if you're standing up the same way you fell down, you're not going to get anywhere. If you get knocked down and you stand up, you have to stand up stronger. You get knocked down and you get stand up again, you have to stand up taller. You get knocked down and you stand up, you have to be smarter. You get knocked down, stand up, you have to be more driven. Every time you get knocked down and you stand up, you have to stand up as a different person. If you just keep standing up, you're like a punching bag. Knock down, get back up, and
those old punching bags you can't knock over.
Right. Yeah. So you have to, and those are the individuals that get to the top of their business. And even when at the top of their business, things go wrong. You look at, Amazon. You look at Bill Gates. You look at, Warren Buffett. All right, all these. You think everything they've done is worked? No.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. But they have very short memories.
Yeah.
That's the one thing they have. They have very short memories. Successful people, honestly, they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit about what you think about them. They don't care what society says. All right. They're going to figure things out. Too many times in life, everybody else is worried about what everybody else is going to think, what everybody else is going to say about them. They're more worried about that. They're more worried about how they look, what the perception is. You have how many followers on your
1.3 million.
1.3 million followers. Mm-hmm. You should put a post out to all your followers. Tell them to take a picture of their face on their Instagram and tell them how they actually look.
Yeah.
It'll be two totally different people.
Yeah. It'd be good. That'd be a good little challenge.
Yeah.
Put your display photo and then do the swipe.
Yeah.
And let me see what you look like now.
Right.
Just take a selfie.
Exactly. But you know what that does? It's social media allows you to be somebody you're not. It allows you to hide behind something and people behind the filters and you know what? People start to believe that.
Yeah.
They start to believe that life. They start to believe that lie.
Yeah.
You get so many people. I'm sure with all the followers you get so many people that are gonna message you and so forth and tell you you're not this, you're not that, you're not.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They love that on social media.
They love that. But when they get in front of you, they become your best friend.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All you got to do is respond.
Now the courage goes away.
Yeah.
Now the courage goes away.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you even just write back, hey, man, sorry you feel that way. It's like, oh, you responded.
Yes.
That's so cool.
Yeah. It's fun, but I'm saying you can't live in that world. And that's what a lot of people are doing. Yeah. This isn't about you just push the button once and it just happened. You didn't just push a button once and get over 7 figures on followers.
Yeah.
This was years and years and years of people, of doing stuff behind the scenes like this, setting this up.
Yeah.
You didn't sit around all day waiting to do this podcast. Yeah. Hey, you had a photo shoot. I'm sure you had stuff to do way before that. I'm sure you have stuff to do afterwards. You said, hey, when are we going to do this thing? You're going to turn. Most people, when they do podcasts, I've done podcasts 6 months ago that still haven't aired.
Yeah.
And you're talking about.
You're going to be out in 36 hours.
Yeah, this is going to be like, all right, those are the things that make you you.
Yeah.
And everybody has the ability to do those things But there's positive things that make you you, and there's negative things that make you you, and you have to accept all of you. Listen, I'm not perfect. There's things about you that people don't like. There's stuff about me they're never going to like. But if you're going to accept me, you have to accept the bad and you have to accept the good. Now, what people may think are bad about me, other people may think those are my greatest attributes.
Yeah.
All right?
Big time.
And you need them. You need them both.
Yep.
You need them both.
Yep. And see, that's the thing that I'm so fascinated by. And like I said, I mean, I grew up in, outside of Akron, Ohio. I love my parents to death, but they don't have the ambition they don't care. They want to live in Akron, Ohio. They like it there. They wanted to raise a family. They did a great job at it. But
Sure.
they don't have the tools to teach me to go do what I wanted to do. So I think that as I started to learn, I learned a million different lessons along the way, but I think when I really learned this, like I said, this mental game part of it, it was like mind-blowing to me. And I think the reason why it was so mind-blowing is because nobody addresses it ever. Like, unless you have parents that somehow teach you that, which I'm guessing is like 0.0001%.
No, they don't.
Teachers don't talk about
Nope.
it. Maybe you get a really good coach that scratches the surface. But it's so crazy to me that this massive piece of the puzzle is never even talked about. And it's just kind of like, well, some people have it or some don't. So my question is, why don't you think?
I don't know. And here's the thing. It's not, this is something that can be taught. I talk about this all the time. You're not born and the doctor looks at you and says, you know what?
Loser.
This person is going to be relentless.
Yeah.
Okay. Chris Drama is going to have this unbelievable podcast. He's going to have all these followers. He's going to make this unbelievable apparel company. Okay. And this kid's going to work at a coffee shop.
Yeah.
No, it's all the lessons that you've learned. There's a saying out there, in school, okay, you take the class and then you take the test.
Yep.
Okay? In life, it's the other way around. You get tested, then you learn.
Yeah. That's so true.
I always like to use the people that I do the podcast with an example, and that's why I do very few of them, because the people that do the podcast, I have to know what they've accomplished.
Yeah.
All right? I don't know if this has ever been brought up, and if it hasn't, this is a reminder. Okay? You were almost dead. You were almost dead. All right? If a person that's almost dead can bring themselves up back to this level and beyond, what's your fucking excuse?
Yeah.
What brought you back wasn't your physical attributes.
Yeah.
It was your mental attributes. Yeah. And here's the other crazy thing. When you were on that death, it was a brain injury. It was a head injury.
Almost lost all my mental attributes.
Yes, it was a head injury. But see, you could have used it. That's why I talked about this earlier. You could have gone two ways. You could have used that as an excuse for the rest of your life. Man, I had this massive head injury. Yeah. This is why I'm fucked up. I can't do anything. I can't be successful. I go find this little 9-to-5, or I can go on disability or whatever. And you're like, no. Okay. So when they use the expression, I got kicked in the head because somebody didn't like what you put out there, or they gave you some criticism that you weren't happy with. Think about what you had to go through.
Yeah.
And I'm saying people love to look at different movie stars or these different billionaires for motivation.
Yeah.
Everybody that's listening to your podcast once a week, whenever it comes out, once a week, the motivation is right there. Motivation is all the way around you. The person that's putting out the podcast, his story alone is your motivation. The rest of the guests that you talk to is the sprinkles.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to make that my intro on every pod.
It's true. It's true.
That's so
Because, it's funny. Successful people people that do the greatest things, all right, don't love to talk about themselves.
Yeah.
There's a thing. I always just say, when you're good, you tell everybody else. When you're great, they tell you.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
And that's why I love when we started this. I was like, hey, usually I go through your story and you're like, I don't really care about my story. Let's talk about the other stuff.
Listen, if you're motivated by somebody else's story all the time, don't be enamored by somebody else's story. If you're constantly enamored by somebody else's story, guess what? You're going to forget to write your own.
Yeah. Big time.
And, we're in LA, and there's people could tell you they're so glued on to these reality shows, and they could tell you everything about a character in there, what they did in their life, what they ate, who they're arguing with, what the conflict is, who they're dating, and so forth. And that's their whole life.
Yeah.
You're living somebody else's life. That's what I mean by when somebody else took your identity. Now, that's what those shows are set up to do. They're there to suck you in.
Yeah.
So now you become them instead of becoming who you really are.
Yeah. And so let me ask you this. Let's say I'm listening to this right now and I'm like, Tim, I believe you, and something sounds familiar here, but you don't get it, man. I live in Wisconsin, and my parents are so negative, and my girlfriend just dumped me. And how would you suggest to go about going down the right path and listening to the right voice and figuring out the right, where do you start?
Well, here's the thing. You have your own voices in your own head. That's the first voices you should be listening to. All right? The problem is you have too many voices in there. So you need to get the voices that shouldn't be in there out and get the voices that should be in there, and you have to become the maestro of your brain. You have to get them playing the same tune every single time. You have to control that tune that's going on in there. All right, listen. The parents, they're going to think what's best for you. They may not know about entrepreneurship. They might not know about anything. They're like, hey, I'm raised. You go to work, you get a paycheck every 2 weeks, you get benefits, you got a 401. To them, that's what success is.
Yep.
All right? Go to college. I'm a big advocate of going to college for certain individuals that want to pursue certain things.
I agree.
Okay? Everyone always gets up there, oh, you don't need college. No, I would not be where I would have been without going to college and learning my trade.
Yep.
It would have just not happened. Yep. All right. The best way to turn your parents' negativity into something positive is when you set out to do something, become a success. Go do it. Show them that you're all in.
Yep.
All right. And then guess what? They're going to be so proud of you.
Yeah.
They are going to be so proud of you. Okay, you know what? Listen, there's not an individual in this room, except maybe that young lady sitting over there, that hasn't had a girlfriend leave them, or they had a relationship that they broke up with.
Yeah.
What did I tell you? Successful people have the shortest memories. They just go on. You think if Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, Tom Brady, Serena Williams, at every time they threw a pass and it didn't go, and it got intercepted, or it was incompleted, or you missed the game-winning shot, or you missed the volley that could have won, that they literally think about it all the time? How would that create a situation when they had to do it next? No, they don't forget about it, but they don't think about it. Too many individuals all the time, they're constantly thinking about the negative things. And that's why I said, those negative things, you store them inside you. That's what fuels your fire. It's how you don't forget, but you can't think about it. I have a saying that all the time. If you're thinking, you're not in the moment.
Yeah.
You are not in the moment.
And you see that a lot during games and in that situation when it's time to go, and that that's the difference of that person performing or not?
Exactly. If you hear this all the time. Don't think. Well, what's the first thing that happens when they tell you
about what? About
you think.
Yeah.
You start to think.
Yeah.
But it takes years and years and years of thinking to be able to not to think.
Is it like a muscle that you would train? Is that how you look at it?
Well, there's two types of the brains. And, listen, like I said, everything I'm telling you, listen, if you don't, I know you're a big advocate of YouTube. Look it up.
Yep.
Look it up. Yep. None of this stuff is bullshit. I'm not making this stuff up. There's science behind it. If you don't believe me, there's plenty of people that talk about it. You have the conscious brain and you have the subconscious brain. All right? When you do things over and over and over and over and over and over again, and this is where I talk about repetition, about mastering something. After you've mastered something, it goes into your subconscious. It's just like when you're driving.
Yeah.
All right? When you drive, most people, don't think about when they know how to turn the car on. They stay there. It's kind of...
We've all done that, like drive to work and not even be like, how did I even get here?
Yeah.
All
right.
Scary, but...
I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Yeah, please
Give me a
do.
guesstimate of what number podcast this is for you.
156.
156.
Yeah.
Okay. You're pretty close into the subconscious. You know how to sit. You know where the mic is going to be.
Yeah.
You know what questions. You look at your guests. You've done your homework. It's gone into subconscious.
Yep.
Now, when you first started,
It was bad.
it
Real
was
bad.
Right. But through the repetition,
Yep.
through the mastery process, it allowed you to what happened? You became more talented. Mm-hmm. When you became more talented, you became more intelligent. When you became more intelligent, you became more competitive. Yeah. And when you became more competitive, you became more resilient. Yeah. When you can do those four things, all right, now you're starting to get into the subconscious. Yeah. Now you're starting the mastery process. Yeah. But I don't know any individual out there. I don't care how successful you are, how unsuccessful, what business you're doing it. You'd like to be more talented at what you do. Yep. Yeah, you'd like to be more intelligent. Yep. You definitely would like to be more competitive. And this is the most important one, the resiliency.
Yeah.
The resiliency. What did you say when you first started the podcast? Man, it was terrible. I was bad.
I was having panic attacks over here in my seat.
And if you weren't resilient,
yeah,
you just stop. People forget about resiliency because they want it now. They want that success now. Yeah. They want everything now. They're just like, okay, how can I get more? How can I get more followers? How can I? You're paying attention. You're paying attention to the wrong things. All right, just because an individual has a lot of followers, okay, they may be the most popular, but that doesn't mean they're the best.
And there's this new thing happening, just for the sake of that conversation, there's this new thing happening where it was like a game of followers, and the more followers you got, the more money you could get for a brand deal and this and that thing. But now what's starting to happen is, because everyone has 1 million followers, people are realizing that not everyone... followers don't equal sales.
No, they don't.
And so it's about a connection with your audience and really meaning something, and product market fit and all of those things. And so the game is already changing, where it's like, look, man, just playing the follower game won't work anymore. So what are you building? What is this?
Right.
What does it mean?
And here's the crazy thing. I did a little, every podcast I do, I always do a little research on the individual, their background, their things. That's why the reason I asked you earlier about the 6th story, I have a story about one of my clients, which is kind of funny. Yeah. Charles Barkley, he was in, so he was in front of a judge because he had this was in his younger career, he had hit some guy at a bar, all right, and threw him through a glass window. All right,
while he was in his career.
While he was in his career, earlier in his career, and he was in front of the judge, and the judge, they fined him, and he did his time, and Charles says whatever's on his mind. Yeah. He says whatever's on his mind, and the judge says, "Mr. Barkley, do you have any regrets?" And he looks at the judge and he goes, "Yes, I do." And it was a female judge, and she goes, "What is it?" He goes, "I should have taken him to the 6th floor and threw him out a 6th floor window instead of throwing him out the first floor." That's why I was asking you. When you said the 6th, I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense.
That is good.
It's just like there's so many things that happen. What I want you to do is, when I read your story, you leveraged every contact that you ever came in touch with. Yeah. Every contact, every situation on, hey, how can I do this without, having to spend 7 figures to get this thing going.
Yep.
You know, hey, listen, you did a not an endorsement deal. You did with
Which one?
with one of the, with the rapper.
Like an ambassador deal.
Ambassador deal.
Yep.
Yes, you did an ambassador deal with that one. You gave somebody, you said, hey, listen, if you do these, I think it was designs or something, I give you 50%. You know, so you leveraged everything because you were like, I can't do this on my own.
Yeah.
I can't do this on my own. I have these contacts. I leverage stuff, and you leverage it to get success. People get these ideas and concepts, and it's like, mine.
Yeah.
I don't want to, I don't want this person to do it. I don't want everybody that's become successful. You need to leverage your contacts. But if you're going to leverage something, you got to have something to offer.
Yep.
I get so many people that DM me all the time or send me stuff on Facebook. I can do this for you. I can do this for you. Show me your track record.
Or they just ask.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll get so many requests for money on my Venmo app. Just, hey man, struggling to pay my rent. Can you send me $1,000? Like, it's like, what?
No, and that you're not helping.
Yeah.
That's in enabling somebody. Okay, you know what? It's not that people don't make enough money.
Yeah.
That isn't the problem with it's your spending habits. If you're $1,000 behind on your rent, don't be mad about the money that you made. Look at the money that you spent on why you are in that situation.
It's so commonly that you just have to look at it a little differently. It's like all these weird bad lessons are taught.
Oh, yeah, listen.
People just look at things the wrong way.
Everything you hear out there, everyone talking about, passion will take you to the top. Passion is an emotion. Okay? You're passionate about a lot of things. Unless there's an action behind that passion, it's not going to, listen, when you started, you had hey, you know what? I'm going to do a podcast. You had a passion behind it. All this that's going on right there, that's the action that makes this thing happen.
Yep.
And that's the hard part. Passion is just a feeling. It's just a thought. You be passionate about a lot of things, all right? But the action that comes behind that passion, the work that comes behind it, makes things actual.
It's so true, man. We don't put enough value on that. And I think that's why I've said this a few times, and I have trouble every time I feel like I'm saying it wrong, but I don't like the messaging of dream big, dreams, just get out there and dream, kids, because it's that is nothing. And it leads, I've seen so many people spend all of their time sitting and dreaming and then waiting for somehow the dots to connect instead of going out and taking step one really shitty.
You know why? Here it is. Because people, those are, when I do my talks and speeches, first thing I say, I'm not a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
All right. Because a motivational speech is like a sugar high. You go in there, they get you all pumped up, they get you feeling good, they're giving everybody high fives, you're giving everybody hugs, and you're screaming and you're rah-rahing and all that other stuff. And what happens when you come off the sugar high? You're in the same place.
Yeah. And even more confused.
You're even more confused.
Yeah.
Or now you don't know what to do. Listen, I talk about real life. These are the things you have to do. This is what it's about. It doesn't make you feel good, but it gives you a lot of emotions to think about and how to move forward on it. The reason people tell you to dream big, go for what you want, do that, because everybody wants to feel good. Yeah. I always tell people, listen, if your best friend is too friendly, you need another best friend.
And what's that mean? That they don't push you enough?
Well, no, they're always, everything you do, it's okay. Everything is going to be fine. Yeah. Don't worry about it. Yeah. If that's all the answer your best friend has, that's not your best friend. Your best friend has got, when you fuck up, your best friend needs to tell you, hey man, no.
Yeah, big time.
You screwed up, and you have to take accountability, and you have to take that feedback or criticism, all right, because it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. It's funny. Motivational speakers, when they say something, it's feedback.
Yeah.
All right. But when somebody else says something that you don't like, it's criticism. It could be the exact same thing.
It's true. But that's why I feel like people like you are so important. We need, I don't know, man. Once again, not to go on a rant or this is how I'm going to
Go
change
on
the
the
world.
rant. This is your show. Go on.
I'm just saying, like, there is a huge place missing in especially young people, but literally every person's life for some sort of like accountability person. And like, not accountability of like, did you finish your math homework? Well, let me see it. Oh, you got a C. Like, you as a human being, what do you want? Are you working to get it? Are you moving forward? No, you're not. This is what you need. You promised you would do X every day.
Yeah.
You're not doing that. Like, even on the smallest form, someone to do that, but we don't. We value the people that tell us we're great when we're not.
When we're not, well, it's the same thing. It's, we're, even now, I won't even say this generation, maybe the generation even before. I think you don't have any kids, do you?
Nope.
Okay, and I'm assuming everybody in here's a.
Yeah.
All right. You go to these athletic events and you get a trophy for participating.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
For showing up.
Yeah.
For showing up.
Yeah.
All right. I'm assuming both these guys get paid.
Yep.
Okay?
Sure do. That's their trophies.
Okay, that's right. But I'm just saying, like, if neither one of them showed up for work or they weren't showing up for 6 months.
No trophy. Yeah. It's terrible. It's terrible. And that's happening a lot, more and more.
Games we don't keep score.
Yeah.
I pretty much think you keep score in life.
Yeah.
All right.
You sure do.
All right. Now, before these two gentlemen were hired, there was probably 10, 12, 15 people that applied for the job. Yeah. How many people got the job? 2. 1 and 1.
Yep.
You didn't give everybody else. You're not writing checks to people that aren't here.
Still writing them. You know what? You showed up.
Yeah, you showed up.
Here's your salary.
Here you go. I'm still going to pay you. I'm still. But so what happens when you think there is no score, when you think you're going to get a pat on the back for participating, what happens when adversity hits?
Yeah, they're done.
You're done.
That's what kills me. Is I think we should be moving in a direction of like accountability and somehow having some sort, like I said, this should be taught in schools and how to really like training people how to become what they want to become, right? But instead we're moving in this other direction where like everything's getting extra comfy. And I just don't know where it leads. I think it leads to a lot of people, even more so than now, which is already a big deal, feeling left out and feeling confused and feeling like the world did them wrong. And that feeling of the world did you wrong is a terrible, dark feeling that is not good for anyone.
But here's the thing. It's funny that you brought the word up, dark. In the book Relentless, I talk how every individual has a dark side.
Yeah, I love that.
Everybody has one. All right. And it's how you handle that situation. The dark side is unique to you. It's what keeps your fire lit when nothing else will. All right. When you were I have no science behind this. Yep. All right. Nobody has. But when you were how long were you in the hospital with that when you were in college?
Like a week.
A week.
Yeah.
All right. I know they could talk about the medicine. They could talk about the great hospital you were in and the great care that you got.
Yeah.
But your fucking dark side brought you back.
Yeah, big time.
It brought you back, and it brought you back better.
Yeah.
It brought you back better. It brought you back more hungrier. It brought you back smarter.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And that's what continues to push you every single day. It's unique to what you do. It's unique to you as an individual. Everybody that's sitting in this room, everybody that's listening to this podcast, you have a dark side. You know what it is, all right, but you refuse to accept it. You spend so much of your day, so much energy keeping it down, keeping it hidden, keep pushing it down. Imagine if you learned how to control it, utilize it, where it would take you. Yeah. It would take you to a place. It would take you to a place that you want to go to. Yeah. That's how you deal with people that say you're not gonna make it. That's how you deal with parents that are constantly negative. This is how you deal with individuals that either had no parents or or only had one parent. Yeah. Do they use that as an excuse? How many times have you still? Oh, you know what? My upbringing, my I didn't have anything in my house. I only had a mom, or I only had a dad, and we didn't have this, we didn't have that.
Yeah.
All right, and they've literally you've been hearing the story today. You'll hear the same story 5 years from now. You'll hear the same stories 15 years from now. That's their crutch.
Yeah.
All right. Then you have the other ones who went through the same situation that say, "Watch me."
Yeah.
How do you use that? How do you use that fuel? And I talked about this earlier. You could have used your situation as a crutch for the rest of your life, and you would have gotten sympathy from everybody.
So much.
From everybody.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Except me. I would have said,
we would have never met.
I would have
read your book. I was like, this, I don't get it.
I would have said, how many years ago was that?
That was, 13 years ago.
I'd be like, it's time to get over now.
Yeah.
It's been 13 years.
And I would have been like, Tim, get it out of my face.
Yeah. Okay.
Because those people push people like you away.
Right, they do.
You know what I'm saying?
Because now you just told them the thing that they needed to hear, but everybody else is telling them what they wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Like if you go around long enough, you're going to get the answer that's going to make you feel good.
I always say
why
that.
you're not a success. You ask enough people,
Yeah.
okay, or you go see enough doctors, and you tell the doctor, hey, my shoulders, and 9 doctors tell you nothing's wrong with 10. The 10 doctors find, oh yeah, this is what you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you know what? That person.
I knew it the whole way. Those
Yes.
other 9 doctors were so bad.
Right.
That's why I always say it's so scary about the world. Is like, well, not scary, but interesting. Is no matter what you do, it's not hard to find a group of people that will tell you you're right.
No.
So if you believe in in the mental toughness of it all, and in waking up at 4 a.m. to go for 5-mile runs or whatever you believe in, you're going to find a group of people that are going to tell you you're right. If you want to go smoke crack, you're going to find a group of people that are going to tell you you're right.
Yeah.
And it's like really interesting how it's on you to say what is right for you, and then build the people around you, because you're going to get validated. Whatever you want to hear, you're going to hear it.
Yeah. Listen, and the best way to understand some of this, the best way to get yourself going again, and I said this earlier, you have to let go. So I'm going to give everybody who's listening on this podcast, who's going to listen, all right, I'm going to give them a job that's going to take 30 seconds.
I like that.
All right? I want everybody to get their cell phone, open up your contacts, and I want you to delete one contact out of there.
That's good.
One contact.
I like that.
And see how, for so many people, it's so difficult because they just can't let go. They have a person they haven't spoken to, or a person that's did them wrong, and they have the hardest time doing that. If you're trying to climb, quote unquote, the ladder of success, isn't it a lot easier to climb something with less baggage than it is with more baggage?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So how are you going to be able to brush off when somebody says something negative about you if you can't take a simple exercise about deleting a simple contact out of your phone? Yeah. You got to learn. You got to learn to say no. You got to learn to let go. It's so, so important. If you're going to take 2 simple things of why you're stuck and why you're not getting to where you want to be, is because you have everybody around you that says yes, where you should have some people, you should learn to say no. Yep. And and everything that everybody says about you, you hear about you, you have a reaction to. Just imagine how much time and energy that takes when every time somebody makes 1.2 million followers.
Yeah.
If you sat there every single day and took to heart every single negative comment or positive comment,
I'd be an alcoholic. I'd just sit and read my comments and get drunk.
That you gotta let go.
Yep.
Just let it go. You can't let everything that somebody says about you create a different emotional state. Yeah. All right. And this is the other thing I always tell you. It's been a long time for individuals, but you need to have this moment. And I call it a fuck you moment.
I like that.
All right.
Yeah.
It's not an easy moment to have, All right. It could be a moment with a family member. It could be a moment with a spouse. It could be a moment with a boyfriend, girlfriend, a significant other, a coworker, or something.
Yeah.
But now, when you use that word, okay, there's two words. There's fuck you, and these other two words better follow. Watch me.
Maybe say that and then delete their contact.
You know? Okay. Because now
Kick the challenge up a notch.
yeah, there
Look,
you go.
watch me
You
block,
know what?
delete.
You could take. Listen, you can run with it and do whatever you want. It's yours. I got the ball started. You take it
That's
and put whatever you want on
Yeah.
it. But when you do that, when you say "watch me," it creates pressure on you now,
Yeah. Big time.
and pressure is a privilege. All right. Here's the thing: everybody who's listening to this podcast wants to be in that seat.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to sit in that first seat until you sit in that first seat.
Yeah.
Then it becomes a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big time.
Yeah. Pressure is a privilege. All right. Everybody wants it, but very few know how to handle it.
Big time. Okay, this is one big question I have because you've been around exactly that. People who are so envied and everyone wants to be these people, but you see what they actually deal with. My question is like, from your perspective and the stuff that you've seen, what percentage of these great elite performers is they just have a gift and they're just special, and that is so awesome? And what percentage is they do the hard work when the hard work matters, even down to the mental, like you see guys, I'm sure, get second guess themselves and are they working on that constantly at all times? What percentage would you say?
Listen, the greatest of the greats, listen, when I deal with individuals in sports, listen, they all have physical gifts.
Yeah.
They do have physical gifts.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
But now, have I known athletes that have more physical gifts than Michael Jordan, than Kobe Bryant, than Dwayne Wade? Yes, I've dealt with many of them. Yeah. But when you have the physical gift and you have the mental fortitude and the drive that goes with it, you think about the three players I just mentioned. All right, right now, arguably, you can say they're the top three two guards. Well, there's no longer positions in the NBA now, but to ever play this game. Yeah. All right. If you ever look at a stat sheet for the last 30 years and you look up Tim Grover in the NBA, you're not going to see me on a stat sheet. I've never scored a basket. I've never had a rebound. Yeah. All right. I'm not getting an assist. But what do those individuals do? They know I had something to offer. And they were willing to sit and listen to it and understand that it can help them. Yeah. All right. And how many people who aren't successful, they know it all. Oh, yeah. When somebody asks you for an advice, you give them advice and they still do whatever they want to do. Yeah. No, that's not for me.
Yeah. I get a lot of advice from people who have never done anything.
Yeah. Well, that's what social media allows you to do. You have experts who've done nothing now.
Yeah. Big time.
Who've done nothing.
Yeah.
You have you got an amazing track record. TV. All right. I don't know that many people. There's a select few who have done, I'll call this radio.
Yep.
Radio.
Yep.
Successful radio. Successful TV. And a successful clothing line.
Yeah.
Let's think of somebody else who's done that. Who comes to mind? Jay-Z?
I like that. Put me next to him.
No, I mean, seriously, what's it?
Yeah. I just have a hard time taking the compliment.
Right, but I know you do. I know you do. In the book we talk about coolers, we talk about closers, and we talk about cleaners. Yeah. All right. A cleaner is an individual such as yourself who does all these things but is always driven to want more. A cleaner never calls themselves a cleaner. Yeah. All right. Because they're never satisfied. They have a hard time accepting the compliments because they're like, Yeah, but I know I could still do more. I know I could still do things. I can do things better.
Yeah, I feel like I just moved from Ohio.
Right. But that's where I'm talking about. It's that fire inside you that's always lit. People always, when I got my clients, they said, you're so lucky. Do you know how hard it is to take a very successful individual and show 1%, 2% growth in that individual?
Yeah, you get wiped out right away.
Yeah.
That's why I hate that. Like, oh, you got lucky to have that client. It's like with the people you work with, you wouldn't last 2 days if you didn't have something to offer.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, and that's because this goes back to what I said about mastering something. Don't go out there and try to do 10,000 things. Master something first. When you were going through your stages, and like I said, you're not going to tell your story, and people who listen to this podcast, if you're really invested in this podcast, you should do some homework on the host. I did it on the plane over here.
Yeah.
All right, I'm circling things. I actually have this stuff in my bag. You mastered one thing at a time. You learned from all those things, and you put them together to build what you've built.
Yep.
You weren't trying to do, well, I'm going to do this clothing line here, and I'm going to do a radio show, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that.
Yep.
Well, that just makes you good at a lot of things.
Yep.
If you want to be great at something, focus in on something that you have talent in. A lot of people are doing this now. They're trying to do things they have no talent in.
Yeah, big time.
They just. I'm not starting a clothing line.
Yeah. If you ever want to, you know who
Okay.
to call.
Well, I'll call you. We might do something together.
Thank you.
But I'm not going to be like, that's not something I'm going to go after this. Hey, you know what? Yeah, Chris did it. I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what everybody
big.
thinks.
Yeah.
No. All right. Find somebody who can do it. And when we talked about earlier about the athletes, is they have the physical gifts, but they're never satisfied. They're always willing to learn. They're always willing to get better. And what they have that most individuals don't have, when you bounce around from thing to thing to thing, you never develop a foundation.
Yeah.
You never develop a foundation. So here's the thing. If this was to all go away tomorrow, you've built such a strong foundation and your fundamental principles, you could build it. You would not only build it back up to where it was, you would build it up to even a greater height.
Yeah, for sure.
All right? It's like individuals that they have all this beautiful stuff in a house. All right? If the foundation of that house isn't strong, it's going to come crumbling down. Most individuals, you don't have the fundamentals, you don't have the foundation. That's why you're not making any progress. Michael Jordan, every single practice as a pro, as a professional now, and you can relate to this because from your skateboarding, all right, started every practice with a chest pass, the most fundamental movement in basketball. When I'm assuming you know a lot of professional skateboarders from the time. Before they can do all their tricks and all that other stuff, there's a fundamental skill
Always.
that they must do over and over and over again. Because if they don't do that, they can't do any of the other stuff. All right? Everybody wants to do all the other stuff. And it's funny, as they become more successful, they forget about their fundamentals. They forget about their foundation. So when things start to go bad, that foundation and those fundamentals are no longer there.
Yeah, so true. What does a guy like Michael Jordan do when he so one of the big things in your book too is like visualizing the end of what you want. And then if you can do it strong enough, the work becomes meaningless. It's easy to do.
Yes.
And so my question is like, we all have, gotten fired up about something or a new idea or whatever, and we started down the road, and, life does come at you, and you might lose some of that motivation, or, I'm sure, Michael, all these guys deal with very real life
yes.
stuff. What do these guys do? Is there like a morning routine? Is there like a meditation? Like, what do they do to get back on track and stay focused on that thing?
Well, listen, life gets in the way, all right, but only if you let it. Like I said, everybody's going through something. It's just the more successful an individual is, the less of a sympathetic ear people have for them.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, they got money, so
Yeah. That solves it all.
Yeah, that solves it. That solves it all. They do have a routine. All right, everybody has a routine, but here's the thing about a routine. Everybody always asks me, "What's this player's routine? What's this business?" It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Your routine has to be unique to you. Yeah. It has to be what works for you. You get all these people that talk about, listen, you have to be up at 5 a.m. Well, listen, if you're not productive until 8 o'clock and you're up at 5,
you don't have to be up at 5.
You don't have to be up at 5.
Yeah.
Okay? You don't have to be up at 5 just because somebody else tells you now. It gives you more time to do stuff, but it's not the amount of time. It's the productivity that's put in that time. These individuals know how to block out distractions, and they know about clarity. It's clear. They keep a clear vision. They keep a clear mind. I'll share my morning routine with. I'll share my morning routine with you. All right. So people always talk about, a good day, a great day. If you're blessed enough to open up your eyes and put your feet on the ground and get out of bed, it's already a good day.
Yeah.
It's already a good day. You're way ahead of so many other individuals. Now, every single morning, I know there's people, places, or things that are waiting for me as soon as I get out of bed. Yep. All right? They're the naysayers, they're the haters, they're the doubters, all right? There's jealousy, there's envy, there's fear, all right? And every single morning, I greet them all. Yep. Shake their hands. What do you got for me this morning?
Yeah.
What do you got? Because they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
For most individuals, what does it do? It pushes them right back into bed. And if you go to sleep, and this is again on the conscious and subconscious, if you go to sleep with your last thought being of how bad the day was, how everything was negative, how you're not getting anywhere, all right, and you do that every single day for a year, guess what goes into your subconscious?
Yeah.
So when you wake up,
you're like, ugh, not again.
Exactly.
Yeah, I do. I made it a point like 6 months ago. I'm still on it. Is like 5 things before I go to bed. Right, last thing I say before I go to sleep is 5 things that I'm thankful for.
That's it.
Just to go to sleep with a nice, happy mind.
It works.
Yeah, it does.
It works. But people know, they do it for a week. No, you got to do it for years.
Yeah.
You got to do it for years, and you got to know those individuals that. The people I deal with are the same people you're going to deal with. It's the same people you're going to deal. They're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
All right, so you might as well learn to use them. You might as well learn to use that energy. You might as well learn to figure it out because they're a part of life. They are there. Those are the things that keep you in bed. Those are the things that make sure you're not successful. Those are the things that say, hey, listen, you don't need to work anymore, man. Let's go hang out.
Yeah. And they're there for everybody.
Everybody.
I think we look at these successful people and we say, yeah, but they don't have what I have.
Yeah. No, they're there for everybody. You don't think just because all right, I'm going to give you an example. All right? People talk about divorce and separation.
Yeah.
I think Jeff Bezos went through a pretty expensive divorce just recently.
Big time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan went through a pretty expensive divorce back in the day.
Yeah.
All right. They had to deal with custody issues. They had to deal with property issues.
Yeah.
All right. Right. Dividing up a house that's worth $12 million and a house that's worth $200,000, somebody's still getting
Yeah.
a
It's all
chunk
relative,
of that. Yeah, it's all relative. But that's what I'm trying to say. Everybody is going through something that nobody knows anything about. But if all you do, if you spend all day looking at the positive on social media and dealing like, wow, this guy's so successful, this girl has got going that, it doesn't work that way. You have to be able to deal with everything that's coming at you. Yeah. You gotta, and you either gotta dodge it or you gotta catch it. You can't avoid it. It's going to be there. Yeah. That's why I said accept it all, use it. There's positive energy and there's negative energy. And when you take that energy inside of you, you determine how to put it together and use it for what you want. And that's what these most successful people do.
Yeah. That's so big. Can I ask you too, because I want to just quickly, I know you don't like talking about it, but quickly go from, because we didn't finish, how the injury and your pivot led you to working with the greatest athletes ever.
I'm one of the few guys that actually went to college and is using my college degree for, using my education for what I did. I have a master's in exercise science and kinesiology, which is the movement of the body and the muscles and so forth. Yep. So what I did was when I graduated, I finished with a master's degree. My first job was at a local health club. Minimum wage was $3.25. Wow. $3.25.
And that was your rate?
That was my rate. Yeah. After a master's degree. After a master's degree, I could say, oh, no, I'm too good. You know what? I'll take the job.
Yeah, that could have been the end. You could have just said, no, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. I said, you know what? I'm going to take the job. After 6 months, they brought me up to $375. Yeah. No problem, because there was that, probation period or whatever they call it now, that, you have to stay at a job for a certain thing. Yeah. And then I started to train, and I knew, even though I had all the education on paper, I didn't have all the practical down of it. Yeah. You can read on how to do a podcast. This is the equipment you need to buy. These are the people you need to hire. This is what you need to do.
Yeah. But you don't know how it feels in that chair.
Exactly. So what I did was I went and started training every individual I could possibly train. Yeah. Okay. But I took it so serious that I was like, I would sit down with a client. I would say, listen, there was no social media back then. I was like, you are my advertisement. Yeah. It's not like I can take an ad out in the paper. You are my advertisement. So whatever we have, 6 weeks, 12 weeks, I need you to buy in. Yeah. Yeah. Because I do my job and I'm seeing you for X amount of hours a week. You have to continue to do this. So I held my clients very accountable. So when everybody in the gym used to see, wow, who is this guy? He's got this person results. He got this. It didn't matter whether it was a person trying to become a better tennis player, an individual that was trying to lose weight, trying to get more tone, somebody that wanted to get in shape after childbirth. I take on all comers, and everything was a learning process for me. Yeah. But I always knew in the back of my mind, even when I told my parents what I was going to do in college, I said, hey, what are you going to do with this degree? I said, I'm going to train professional athletes. And this goes back to what you said earlier about the parents and the negative thing. Sometimes a negative thing is not negative. They just don't understand. And I think you brought up that point. Yeah. So my parents said, oh, you're going to be a gym teacher, because that's what health and fitness to them was. And I said, no, I'm not going to be a gym teacher. Was there nothing wrong with it? I am going to train professional athletes. Yeah. So every single day that I knew what I wanted to do. And everything I did work-related wise, studied wise, read wise, was to get me prepared for that. Yeah. then there was an article in the paper saying how Michael Jordan was looking, he was getting tired of taking the physical abuse from the Detroit Pistons, which was a team that was beating him up. You guys are too young to remember all this.
Well, we've
All
read
right,
the
yeah,
stories.
but all right. And so what I did was I sent out letters. This is when you actually had to write a letter.
Yeah.
I wrote a letter and I mailed it to all the Chicago Bulls players. There's 15 players on a team. I sent out 14 letters. The one person I didn't send a letter out to was Michael Jordan. I was like, oh, why does he need me? He's already so great, all this other. So I was like, all right, all these other players need help. He was the only person that reached out.
Do you see everyone else opening their letters? And he's like, what the hell?
Yeah,
man?
you're the second person that said that. I was like, maybe what I so he had he had to physically have taken that letter out of somebody else's locker room.
Yeah.
Out of somebody else's locker, and he gave it to the athletic trainer, and he gave it to the team doctor at the time and say, man, find out what this is all about. And they made contact with me, and they grilled me for 3 months. Make sure I knew what I was doing. And they didn't tell me who this was for. They said, hey, one of the players is interested in working with you.
Yeah.
And this is going outside the organization, which is like a really
Yeah.
no-no. So I went through all this, and I was like, man, well, what's going on here? I mean, it was like taking a final exam every single day. What would happen if this injury? How would you handle this situation? What happens when you eat this? And all right, I'm going all in all with this. And one day they said, hey, the player wants to meet you, and this was in 1989. And they said, be at so-and-so's, be at this address. Okay, they still didn't tell me who the player was. Yeah. And this was back in the day where you could just walk up to Michael Jordan's house and knock on the door. Yeah. All right, can't do that anymore. So I just go over there, I knock on the door, and Michael Jordan opens the house. No. Unfortunately, I'm not a starstruck person.
Yeah.
But everything I did when I said I'm going to train professional athletes got me ready for that day.
Yeah.
Every single thing I did and everything I didn't do. You know how people always talk about stuff that they did? Yeah. I always tell people the reason I got to where I was, it's not because of all the things I did. It was all the things I didn't do. Yeah. All right. While you guys were out partying or doing whatever you were doing, I was studying my craft. I was focused in on what I wanted to do. When you were out getting drunk at the bar, it was all the things I didn't do. It was the extracurricular work. It was the extra hours I put in. It was the extra studying. It was not getting all the sleep. It was all the things that when that opportunity come, because everybody in life, I don't care who you are, you're going to get one opportunity. Yeah. I firmly believe that everybody on this planet gets that one opportunity. Yeah.
And it won't look like the one opportunity.
Exactly. Yeah. And are you ready? Are you ready for it? Yeah. When that opportunity came, I was so ready for it. I sat down, I talked to him for an hour, told him what the plan was, all this other stuff. He goes, this sounds too good. I said, give me 30 days. 30 days turned into 15 years.
And when did the mental part come into play? Did it just naturally sort of go into that? It just
kind of naturally. So a lot of the stuff that I teach now and that I share with other individuals, it's from watching an individual like Michael, how they handle adversity and being able to talk to these people and see how they did things when they won, how they did things when they lost. What happens when you have to your child, you start to have additions to your family and all this other stuff, and how to deal with the media thing. And being around him allowed me to be around, like the greatest tennis players. People like Serena Williams, Roger Federer, Wayne Gretzky, hockey players. To be around, Muhammad Ali over there. Yeah. Derek Jeter. He's got a Yankees hat over there.
Yeah, big fan.
To be able to, not just sit down and have an hour conversation with them, but being able to spend, so much time with them and hear them talk and hear about their struggles and how they handled their situations. And and I was one of those individuals, and I'm always very curious. I ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Well, why'd you do this? How come you didn't do this? What was going on in here? Well, how come you didn't try this? And they would explain all this stuff to me, and that's where I really got interested and started learning my craft. But what I realized is that the top, you know how people talk about the 1%? These are the top 0.00001%.
Yeah.
They all think the same way.
Yeah, that's so cool to hear.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. All right, Michael Jordan, pretty successful basketball player.
And baseball.
Okay, Derek Jeter, pretty successful baseball player.
Yeah.
All right. After they finished playing, they didn't have to do anything else. Yeah. But the competitiveness doesn't stop.
Yeah, big time.
Michael Jordan buys a team. Derek Jeter buys a team. Mm-hmm. All right? Mm-hmm. So it's like the competitiveness it just translates into something else.
Yeah.
Just like skateboarding.
Yep.
Okay. To apparel.
Yep.
TV. To podcasting. All you did was direct your energy into something else. The competitiveness never stopped. You're like, yeah, I conquered this. Yeah. I really didn't conquer it now, but I'm going to conquer this. It just takes,
true.
Here's pressure and success. It never goes away. It just takes a different form. Yeah. Just takes a different form. So with your thing, it's just taking different forms. So with these individuals, it's just taken a different form.
Yeah. That's also why I feel like we have this idea in our heads, or a lot of people do, that you're going to work, and then there's some destination that you get to where there is no more pressure, and there's just money falling on trees, and you made it. And it's like, I think learning, the same way we were talking about sports and about participation trophies and stuff like that, I think learning as early as you possibly can that isn't how life works, and to learn how to enjoy the competition and grow through it and just get better at that, and stop trying to wait for the day when you get to retire and hang your hat up and sit on a beach. It's so flawed.
It's so flawed. Listen, we can make more money, mm-hmm. right? You can find another relationship. Mm-hmm. You can do more podcasts. You can get more followers. What's the one thing that nobody in this room can get more of?
Time. Yep.
That's why I said if you're going to do the podcast, and I'm going to be a guest on a podcast, I'm going to give you some information that most people are not going to say because it's not going to make you feel good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And I'm selective about who I'm going to talk to because this is information that it's not for everybody, but it should be.
Yeah, big time. It's such a shame.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to let you get out of here. I'm going to ask you my two big ender questions.
Right.
First one is, if we had a time machine here and you could hop in it, you could go to any point in your life, say anything to yourself, where would you go and what would you say?
That's a great question. And I'm going to go in a little different direction on this. You know how everybody always says, and this is another thing that, that I said, I call it the BS or the bullshit that holds you back.
Yeah.
How many times you hear this? If I could go back in life, I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. All right. There's not a single person sitting in this room right now. I don't care how young or old you are. If you had a chance to go back and change something, you'd have a list of 30 things. Oh, let me see. I can only pick one. I can limit. All right. That's what I would do. Yeah. But listen, I understand they're all learning experiences and so forth. But if you had the education now and understanding, and you were able to do it, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you'd be like, yeah, I would change that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have so many things So I
like
just
that.
I'm just being honest with
Yeah.
people. So when people say that, because it's the cliche thing, because you know what, it makes you like say, oh, my life is fulfilled, it was perfect. No, it wasn't. Come on, stop lying.
Yeah,
Stop. Stop. We're not stupid. All right. Yeah, you know what? Everybody in here would change something. We would all change something.
Yeah.
All right. Listen. You know what? I'll give you a perfect example. If I had something to change today, I would have taken an earlier flight. I had a chance to get on a flight that was early. I would have been here on time. So like just something 8 hours ago, people said, oh, I wouldn't change something 20. There's something that happened 8 hours ago. When I was booking the flight, you know what? I'm going to take this flight. I had a chance to take an 8:30 flight or an 8 o'clock flight, and I decided to take the 9:20 flight.
Yep.
50 minutes difference cost me 4 hours.
I like it. That's what I like about you is that honesty.
Yeah, listen, when's the right time for the truth? Always.
Yep.
It doesn't always make you feel good, but in a relationship here, and I know we're going off a tangent.
No,
I know we
hey,
got to get out.
you
We
got
got to
time, I
get
got
out of here.
time.
What's the first thing people tell you they want in a relationship?
Trust.
Trust and honesty.
Yep.
Exactly. But then when you're truth and you tell them something, they get.
Yeah, they don't want that one. They don't want that truth.
Right. Exactly.
It's a different one.
Yeah, they want a different truth. But everything is just, when you get in a relationship, when people it goes about, man, I love that person. They're so driven, they're so motivated. They're such a hard worker. They're going to be successful. Then when you get with that person, what do they say? All they do is work all the
Yeah,
time.
big time.
Well,
I've had that conversation.
that's what you loved about me from the beginning.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But now that's what I meant earlier, where I said you become somebody else instead of becoming who you are.
Yeah.
Now somebody else is changing your identity because they want you a certain way.
Yeah, big time. I feel like for people between parents and school and relationships and this and that, like you just get so, and then it's like it feels like a lot of people just wake up at some age and are like, oh, I didn't do half of what I.
You have time for everything you want to do. You have time for everything that you do first.
Yep.
Plain and simple.
Yeah. Okay, last one. You can prescribe anything to the entire world for 30 days and they have to do it. What do we tell them to do?
If we can prescribe, learn to use your dark side. Learn to use identify your dark side, learn to use it, learn to control it. It's the one thing that's unique to you that can make you or it could break you.
Big time. There it is. Tim, I can't thank you enough, man. I'm so honored
My
to
pleasure,
have you on
Chris.
here.
This was unbelievable,
This was
man.
great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Guys, if you like that and you want to see more like it, as well as vlogs, other web series, and all the random stuff that I'm doing here on YouTube, don't forget to click that subscribe button. You won't regret it, I promise.